Have you ever had one of those light bulb moments? An amazing idea, something you really believe could work, but then you hit that wall. How do I actually make this happen?
Right. How do you get from just the concept to something real, something thriving?
Exactly. Because, our sources really drive this home a great idea. That's just the starting line. It's the marathon after that's the challenge. So what's the blueprint then? What's the roadmap you need to turn that spark into, well, a sustainable fire?
That's what we're diving into today.
We're looking deep into the business plan, that document, that critical piece that can genuinely make or break things.
And we'll break down its core parts for entrepreneurial projects. We've got some great source material focusing a bit on the cooling and air conditioning sector too, which gives us concrete examples.
Yeah, pulling from a really comprehensive set of sources to get you those actionable insights.
Our mission really is to unpack those key bits. The executive summary, the marketing plan, the operational plan.
Not just the what, right?
No, not just what they are, but why they're so vital. Why they're these indispensable tools if you're aiming for, real success as an entrepreneur.
Cutting through the noise.
Straight to the stuff you can actually use, the strategic moves.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Why? Why is a business plan so fundamental? Our sources are pretty emphatic about it.
They really are. They say good planning is key for all projects, but especially entrepreneurial ones.
And that fits with bigger picture stuff too, like national strategies pushing for more entrepreneurship. It shows everyone kind of recognizes this.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is how the sources make it relatable. Think about planning a trip, maybe Umrah, for instance.
Okay.
You wouldn't just go, would you? Spontaneously.
No way. You'd figure out transport, who's coming, times, where you're staying.
Exactly. A business plan is precisely that. It's your trip plan for your project. It's written down. It analyzes the market, costs, your team, competitors, everything.
And doing that significantly cuts down the chances of things going wrong.
Because you've thought through the journey ahead. You've anticipated bumps in the road.
It's interesting. One source mentions that quote from Sharon Srivatsa. Sometimes the first step is the secret to moving forward, which is great. It highlights just starting.
The power of action.
But how does this deep planning help you take that first step with real confidence, not just, jumping in blind?
Well, connecting that to the bigger picture, a really solid plan does more than just get you started. It works like an early warning system.
How so?
It helps you spot market gaps you might have missed. It forces you to think about challenges, maybe labor shortages or cost spiraling or getting the right licenses, which can be tricky.
Okay, so anticipating problems.
And, crucially, preparing alternatives before you hit a snag, thinking about Plan B or even Plan C.
That makes sense.
Which leads to a pretty stark point. Did you know that studies consistently show most startups fail precisely because they didn't have a clear, accurate business plan? Or maybe they had one, but it was just weak, didn't hold up.
Wow. So for you listening, what this really means is that this plan isn't just some document to file away.
No, definitely not.
It's your proof. It shows potential investors or incubators that your idea is feasible, that it can actually work.
It lays out the financials, what you need, projected costs, expected revenue, and, how you'll actually make a profit.
But it's more than just numbers, right?
Oh, absolutely. It details your plans for management, for sales, logistics, inventory, quality control, even down to administrative roles. It's your whole strategy, really, laid out clearly.
Okay, building on that strategy, let's get into the first big piece, the executive summary.
Right, the front door to your plan.
Yeah, it's often the very first thing anyone reads, so it's got to grab them fast. But here's a little inside tip our sources hint at.
Oh.
While it's read first, a lot of successful folks actually write it last.
That's a really powerful point. Why do you think that is?
Well, the thinking is, once you've wrestled with all the other details, the marketing, the operations, the financials, then you can write a summary that's not just a sketch, but a really compelling, refined story of the whole thing.
That makes perfect sense. So fundamentally, the executive summary is that concise, high-level view of the entire plan. It explains the core idea, your objectives, what you need, and the benefits.
Designed to hook those funders or investors.
Exactly. It has to clearly lay out what's in the full document, outline your goals short-term and long-term, and really nail your unique solution to whatever problem you're solving.
The sources use that phrase, present value. What kind of value are we really talking about here?
Good question. It means clarifying the value of what you're actually producing or offering. It's about the return on investment, the ROI.
So the financial gain versus the cost.
Precisely. Showing the ROI of your solution and how your project will genuinely improve things, service delivery, customer experience, whatever it is.
It's basically your unique selling proposition, distilled.
You got it. And the source material actually gives a pretty helpful checklist for drafting one. Things like, describe the project, maybe it's developing an advanced AC system, detail the tech, outline your target market, introduce your team.
Analyze the competition too, right? Opportunities, risks.
Absolutely. Explain how you'll make money, your revenue model. Present a financial snapshot, how much cash you need, how you'll pay it back. It all wraps up by giving investors really clear, compelling reasons why they should back you.
Okay, so you've got that sharp executive summary. It paints the picture. Now, the next challenge, how do you actually connect with the people who need your amazing product or service?
And that brings us squarely to the marketing plan.
Right. How do you get it out there?
Well, the marketing plan is your strategic playbook for that. It outlines your marketing approaches, your specific tactics, all aimed at hitting certain goals within a time frame.
And why is it so important? Beyond just, saying we'll advertise.
Its real value is making sure your plans actually link up with what you do, that there's integration. It helps you manage resources efficiently, time, money, and ultimately get a good return on investment for your marketing efforts. It forces you to truly understand your market.
So what are the must-haves? What makes a marketing plan strong, not just?
Okay. It usually kicks off with a really solid current situation analysis. You look at the market overall, you study your competitors really closely. Where are the gaps? What are the opportunities? And you need an honest look at your own strengths and weaknesses.
Okay, laying the groundwork.
Then you define your marketing strategy. This includes your big picture vision, your mission, your specific objectives, and you have to clearly state your competitive advantages, what makes you different.
It needs to be measurable too, I assume, the goals.
Definitely. Specific, measurable marketing plan goals. And then identifying your target market. Who exactly are your customers? Demographics, yes, but also their needs, how they buy things, even their spending power.
And it goes deeper than just broad segments.
Oh, yeah. You should really try to build prospective customer personas. Get inside their heads. What are their traits, their goals? What keeps them up at night? What questions are they asking that you can answer?
Sounds intensive.
It is, but it pays off. And you absolutely have to analyze your competitors. Strengths, weaknesses, pricing, product quality. Find that unique edge you have over them.
Which ties into the broader market view.
Exactly. That requires a detailed sector and market analysis. How big is the market? What are the trends? Is it growing? All that research leads you to a marketing strategy that's actually tailored, not generic.
Okay, and we can't talk marketing without the classics, the marketing mix, the 4 Ps.
Product, price, place, promotion, still fundamental.
We all know the terms, but where do people often stumble when applying them today? Any common traps you see?
That's a great question because the concepts are simple, but the execution is everything.
Okay, let's take product or service. What's the trap there?
The trap isn't just saying what it is, but failing to really articulate the unique solution it offers. Why is it different? Why is it innovative? You need to focus on the specific features and benefits that set it apart from competitors, not just its basic description.
Makes sense. What about price?
The common mistake is setting it in a vacuum. Yes, it needs to cover costs and give you profit, but it must also match what your target customers can actually afford and are willing to pay. It has to reflect the quality and be competitive. It's a real balancing act.
Not just plucking a number out of thin air.
Definitely not. Then there's place or distribution. People often think, I'll just sell online.
But that's not always enough.
Right. The trap is oversimplifying it. It's about choosing locations or channels online, physical, specific retailers where your customers can easily find and access you. You need to think about customer proximity, where competitors are. Storage, transport logistics, convenience is key.
Okay. And finally, promotion.
The mistake here is often just throwing money at random ads. Promotion is much broader. It's all the ways you publicize your project, targeted special offers, maybe strategic gifts, PR, sponsorships. The key is making sure all these efforts work together and tell a consistent story, not just a scattergun approach.
Got it. Integrated efforts. And practically speaking, you need a marketing budget and a timeline for all this, right? To keep track.
Absolutely. You need to know what you're spending, where, and when to expect results.
Okay. So you've got the killer idea, you've nailed the executive summary, you know how you'll market it. Now, how do you actually do the thing? Make the product, deliver the service.
That's where the operational plan comes in. This is the engine room.
The how-to guide for the business itself.
Precisely. It details all the day-to-day activities, the processes that take your inputs, raw materials, labor, information, and turn them into outputs, the finished product or service.
Like the AC factory example, metals, fans, compressors in, finish AC unit out.
Exactly that. It maps out that entire transformation process.
So why is this section so crucial? Beyond just, describing how things get made, what's the deeper strategic value?
Oh, it's huge. It forces you to think ahead, to predict operational hurdles. It gives management a way to evaluate the production process step by step. It's fundamental to actually achieving your overall goals.
It keeps things on track.
Yes, and it helps you monitor and improve efficiency over time. Plus, it's key for managing operational risks. What happens if the supplier fails? What if a machine breaks down?
And financially.
It's foundational for figuring out your capital needs. How much money do you actually need to run the operation? You can't guess that accurately without this plan.
Okay, this sounds like where the numbers get really real. What are the key parts of this plan, especially on the cost side? The sources had some good examples.
They did. It basically breaks down into two main cost buckets. First, investment costs. These are the things you pay for before you even open the doors.
Like setting up shop.
Exactly. It includes foundation costs. Think licenses, registration fees, maybe paying for feasibility studies or consultants. The source mentioned an example around SAR 17,300 for things like licenses and initial design work.
Okay, initial setup fees. What else?
Then you have fixed assets, decor, and furniture costs. This is equipping your space, buying machinery, computers, maybe vehicles, furniture, getting the place designed. The example figure was around SAR 46,500 for assets like a car, computers, furniture.
So all the physical stuff you need up front.
Right, and the formula is simple. Investment costs, foundation costs, plus fixed assets and decor furniture costs. In that source example, it totaled SAR 63,800.
Got it. That's the upfront chunk. What's the second bucket?
That's operational costs.
Yeah.
These are your ongoing, day-to-day running expenses. And these also split into two types.
Okay.
You have fixed costs. These generally stay the same each month, no matter how much you produce or sell. Think rent. That was a big one in the example. SAR 40,000. Also annual subscriptions, insurance, maybe core employee salaries. The example total was SAR 59,600 for fixed costs.
Rent, salaries, insurance, the predictable stuff.
Mostly predictable, yeah. Then you have variable costs. These go up and down depending on your activity level. Buying raw materials, that was SAR 5,000 in the example. Also maintenance, maybe transport costs for goods. These fluctuate.
So costs tied directly to production or sales volume.
Exactly. The example put total variable costs at SAR 11,500. And again, simple formula. Operational costs equals fixed costs plus variable costs, summing up to SAR 71,100 in that specific case.
Wow, seeing those numbers broken down like that, it really hammers home why mapping it all out is so vital. You can't just wing that stuff.
Absolutely not. That operational detail is critical.
What a journey. We've really covered the absolute must-haves of a business plan.
We really...
From nailing that first impression with the executive summary to figuring out your path to customers with the marketing plan.
And then getting down to the nuts and bolts of making it happen with the operational plan.
It really boils down to detailed, thoughtful preparation, doesn't it?
It really does. And if you zoom out again, remember, this well-structured plan, it isn't just about dodging failure. It's not just hoping for the best.
It's more proactive than that.
Much more. It's about systematically building your odds for real, sustainable success. It gives you the tools to anticipate, to adapt when things change, because they always do, and to articulate your whole vision with clarity and confidence.
To anyone who needs to understand it, investors, partners, your own team.
Exactly.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. Now that you've heard about these key components, how might understanding them change how you look at your own next big idea?
That's a great question to ponder.
Whether it's something new at work or that entrepreneurial dream you've been kicking around, these planning principles are universal.
And remember, there are resources out there.
Yeah.
Our sources mention things like templates. One Shot has some, apparently easily found online. They can help structure your thinking.
So the final question is, what's your first step going to be in charting that course?